Hey guys, tonight I want to talk about the wonkiness of the Philippines. And if there's one thing you can say about the Philippines is it's quite wonky. And what I mean by wonky is sometimes strange things happen here. You can't explain why they happen, or you see something strange or whatever. It just happens, and it's kind of funny to watch it when it does happen. But I've had some pretty strange things happen to me over the past 6 years. And I had something happen within the past 3 to 6 months that I could talk about a little bit. I can't go too much into detail about it, but I'll just say this. When I was going through something, I never expected the help that I got. And I can't really go into too much detail on this, and I wish I could, because it was something really amazing. And what happened was, it was almost like a Jedi mind trick or something was going on. I'm sitting there watching it right in front of me, and I'm like, what is going on here? And it was like a miracle for me, because it was something unexpected. And it was from a Filipino, and I kind of needed help, and maybe they sensed that I needed help with something, and I was really in need of that help. And the person really stepped up to the plate for me. Actually, it was two people in a row that stepped up to the plate without even knowing my situation, without even knowing anything that was going on. They stepped up to the plate for me and helped me in this situation in a huge and massive way. It was actually more than two people. It was probably like about 6 or 7 totally. In total, there was 6 or 7 people that helped me, but actually three in a huge way, and 3 in minor ways. But it was all people in a row, and it was like a miracle watching it happen. And in the end, I was kind of left scratching my head saying, wow, that was a true blessing, and quite wonky to watch, and I've seen stuff like this happen. And a lot of times when we talk about wonky things happening, it's like people screwing up your order at McDonald's or something like that. Well, that was kind of wonky, we see a lot of messed up, strange things happen here that often leave us scratching our heads. I remember one time on a jeepney ride, I was driving up to Dasma, and there's this long-haired guy, and he had like dreadlocks. I think he was on drugs, and he was just walking around naked in the streets. And I remember also seeing a lady over there, and she was walking around naked. And I think it was probably because they were probably on some sort of drugs or something like that. That's what I gathered from it. Both of them seemed like they were both on drugs. But I remember seeing this lady. She wasn't totally naked. She was just topless, walking around in Mangahan over in General Trias, and she was just walking around, and everybody's like laughing at her and stuff. And I was like, well, there's another thing we can call wonky. It's stuff like that is strange that you see in the Philippines. You'll see some strange things happening. You'll see accidents. I've seen some really bad accidents, which I won't really call wonky, but I've seen a lot of strange stuff over here. I've seen a lot of bad stuff. I've seen a lot of good stuff. I've seen some miracles happen. I've seen some expats do some giving in front of me, and I was kind of shocked. I've seen expats here. We have people that help the orphanage here. We have about 3 or 4 people that donate money to the orphanage here. And 2 of them are actually 3 of them are subscribers, and it helps the people here. And it's not a wonky thing, but it is kind of a thing it's kind of unexpected. You know what I mean? And these people have been doing this for months, and I was just like just shocked and surprised. I'm amazed by some of the things that I see in my life now. It's sometimes living in the Philippines can be a very blessed life, and sometimes it can be not so blessed. I've been on both ends of that stick, and over the past 6 years, I've been blessed in a lot of ways, and I've also been kind of on the receiving end of the bad stick, and gotten beaten down a little bit for things. And for the most part, I would say over this past year, in the beginning, it was a mixed bag of blessings and bad things. And you know it's going to change sooner or later, but you just got to wait it out. You got to wait out for that bad wonkiness to go away, because it was quite wonky. And when I'm talking about wonkiness, a lot of guys will see things over here with girlfriends that are totally different than back home. Some girls over here can be quite brutal, and I've talked about that, and that can be one of the wonky things that you can deal with over here. I've dealt with it with a couple of girls over here. I've had it happen. It can happen to you. It can happen to anybody. Strange things can happen, and sometimes in good ways too. And I've had that happen too. And and the guys are always telling me some story that happened. I'm always hearing different stories, and it's actually quite fascinating sometimes. And it's something I wanted to share with you a little bit about the wonkiness, because you guys are going to experience your own wonkiness over here, both good and bad. And when the bad happens, you just got to kind of push through it. And when the good wonkiness happens, and there is good wonkiness, something strange will happen, but it's in a good way. And it's kind of totally different, because it's just weird things happen here sometimes in the Philippines. The people here are wonderful people, and they'll do anything in the world for you. And I think that makes up part of the wonkiness that we're talking about. And I've seen people here really stick their neck out for me that barely knew me or knew me a little bit, and really pushed for me at times when I didn't expect that from these people. And Filipinos are like that. I've also seen that with some of the expats over here. And I've seen people push the opposite way, do mean things to you sometimes. But overall, I would say the good usually prevails over here. And I wish I could share some of these things with you, but some of them are kind of personal and private, and I don't think the people would appreciate me talking about it. Or maybe they would, but I just feel like it's personal for me also. But sometimes when you hear, expect the unexpected, because sometimes things happen over here and they're very strange. And sometimes when I'm on the phone talking to people, I talk to them and I tell them some of the stories that have happened to me when they're sharing something with me. And they said, really? That's funny, because I've never had that happen. And I've seen so many crazy things over here, and I'm sure I'm going to have many, many more of those experiences. And I hope that you guys, when you guys get over here, that you guys have some of those experiences, both good and bad, because some of the bad experiences, overall I've learned from, and some of those bad experiences actually made some of the good experiences happen. Maybe that's God's way of working or whatever. To me, I believe it's like God's karma. When you do, I believe when you do good things for people, it'll come back to you. And I was just talking to somebody tonight about this a little bit, about that. I'm a person that gives. I believe in giving. And I believe in giving more than, people say give 10%, you'll get 10 times that back or whatever. In my life, I've been blessed. And when I was a kid, I had a friend of mine that I worked for. He was an older gentleman. He was a survivor of the Holocaust, and I worked for him for a while. And he always used to say I had the Midas touch, like I turned things to gold, because I as a kid, I started a bike shop in my dad's basement, and with that, I was able to make a lot of money. I was selling bikes that I was picking out of a dump in Lexington, Massachusetts. And these bikes that I was getting from Lexington, Massachusetts were almost like fairly new or in really, really good shape, and I would fix them up and sell them. And some of these bikes were really high-end bicycles. And I found some bicycles, and they're worth $100, $200. Now, this is when I was a kid. These were really high-end bicycles. And, as I got older, I never really considered myself blessed. But in some ways, I was always getting blessed whenever I did something over the top to help people. And it always came back to me. It was almost, it's like something I wish people could learn from that. And, I look at it as it's God's way of looking out for me and saying, you're doing right, and I'm going to give these blessings back to you. I really do. I mean, I usually don't talk religion on here, but that's my beliefs, and I think it's kind of the world's way of looking out for us, when to show us that hey, you're doing the good thing, you're doing a good thing, you're doing the right thing now, and God always pays you back. That's the way I look at it, and I believe in helping people. I believe that helps people, that when we help people, it's not always getting back from those people. I never expect anything from those people, but something I always get it back one way or another. And sometimes I see some really strange things happen. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And it's happening to me sometimes. And like I said, I think sometimes some of that wonkiness is like God's way of working with, to help us when we need help. And I've seen things that look, like I said, if you've watched Star Wars, the Jedi mind tricks, it's like, what is this, a Jedi mind trick or something? When you see it happening in front of you, and it's just kind of bizarre. But anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys. I just want to share about the wonkiness, because I've been experiencing a lot of that over the past 6 months. And it sometimes Filipinos themselves, I think, are kind of wonky people in a fun way and in a good way. And I think they're a blessing in a huge way to expats. Just the fact that we have a place here that we can come to that is full of wonderful Filipinos. And I'm not saying they're all perfect. They're not. And some people, we voice our frustrations with the ones that are not. But the majority of Filipinos are wonderful people. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. Let's face it. We have a great country here, great people here. The Filipino people, I think, for me, are probably the most wonderful people you could ever meet. And I mean that sincerely. But, we have a lot of wonderful expats over here too. And we also have a lot of wonky expats that are kind of probably in the bad way too, but most of the expats over here, I would say, are decent, motivated individuals that are not just sexpats and stuff like that. They come over here to do good things. And I'm sure even some of those people see a lot of wonky good things happen to them that they don't expect sometimes, and Filipinos sometimes can surprise you, and in wonderful ways too. Like, it just totally surprise you, do something unexpected. And if you guys want, you're welcome to share those stories on here in the comments section. But anyway, guys, I did want to talk about that. I wish I could have shared more about this, because it's something I really want to share, but because it's so personal, the stories that I had, and it just gives out too much information that I can't share it. But anyway, guys, God bless. Take care. I hope you enjoyed today's show. God bless.